So we're here in Istanbul for World Routes, and I'm joined here by Alexandria Van Haren, who is Air Service Development Manager at Phoenix Sky Harbor International Airport. So Lexie, thank you so much for joining me today.
Well, thank you for having me here.
So firstly, if you could tell me a little bit about your catchment area and what characterizes them, what type of travelers are they?
Well, Phoenix is the largest airport in Arizona, and we are actually the fifth largest city in the U.S., fastest growing city. And Phoenix Sky Harbor is a major international airport for all of Arizona, but also the areas surrounding it. So as far as our travelers, we were long thought of as a leisure destination because we do have over 300 days of sunshine, over 300 golf courses. We have places like Sedona, the Grand Canyon, all these beautiful places to visit, and that still holds true. We have all five major sports leagues, lots of things to do. But because we've been experiencing massive economic growth over the last decade that has accelerated during the pandemic, we are actually now experiencing great growth in our business traveler as well. The other interesting thing that's changed about Phoenix is that we were a really great market for airlines to connect through, and we still are. But our O&D has grown so much because of our population growth. We've seen 15% population growth just through 2022, not even counting what's coming online, that we are seeing our O&D traffic grow immensely.
And what does OND stand for again?
Oh, sure. Origin and destination. So the amount of people who are coming directly to Phoenix and leaving directly from Phoenix is more than it ever has been. Phoenix was always, for a while, a place where we had a large number of connecting passengers. The other interesting thing that has changed about Phoenix as well is that it does get pretty hot in the summer. And so the seasonality of Phoenix used to be that we would not have as many incoming visitors due to the heat, but actually because of our population, our economic growth, our residents are traveling outside of Phoenix, and so our airlines are telling us that they're seeing that seasonality flatten, which of course is so much better for network planning.
Fantastic. Now, do you create passenger profiles or personas? How much detail do you know about your passengers, and how do you use this information when thinking about which new routes to open?
We're very fortunate that we have a fantastic community in Phoenix, and that's both with our tourism partners and our economic development partners, as well as our political officials. And so I'm able to go to different organizations and ask them for their data on specific visitors or a business profile or a country that we get a lot of, for example, Mexico, and they're able to give me that specific data, and that's what we use to build our passenger profiles. And so those partnerships have absolutely been essential. So for example, our Mexican consulate is very active and engaged with us, and we've worked on a number of cases together, and we now have service to 13 points in Mexico, and our Mexico service has increased over 120%.
Now tell me about the $10 million raise grant for a cultural corridor, because it sounds really interesting.
The great thing about the Phoenix airport is it's in the middle of the city, and it's about 10 to 15 minutes to get downtown, which is absolutely wonderful. But because we are so close to and in the middle of the city, we want to make sure that we're good neighbors. And so this grant will allow us to continue our work being a good neighbor. It will allow us to honor the families and the history in the area, as well as improving the safety and the mobility around the airport.
And what are your challenges in terms of route development for the next year, would you say?
I think it's the same challenges that everyone's experiencing, unfortunately, which is the aircraft shortages, pilot and crew shortages, engine issues, all of those sorts of things, and just general political, geopolitical changes as well. I think that for us, our main focus is really working with the airlines to have a case already built for when they do have the aircraft to grow. Yeah. And that's been the conversations I've had here, and they've been very positive in that realm.
Now, what are the three most exciting developments that you're really excited about at the airport, would you say?
I would say our passenger growth, absolutely. 2023, we're on record to, or on track to break the record for the most passengers we've ever served. In 2019, we served over 46 million passengers, and we're on track to break that record, as well as we have 142 markets in peak season, most markets we've ever had, 23 airlines, most airlines we've ever had. So just seeing that growth has been really exciting in Phoenix. Number two, we've also added a number of infrastructure projects that have come online, including a new and final concourse for our Terminal 4, our largest terminal. We also completed our SkyTrain, which is a people mover, and it extends all the way through the airport. You can get from one end to the airport to the other in 12 minutes. And then the other ones that we're working on right now is we're actually lengthening our center runway so we can help distribute our wide body aircraft. We're the busiest three-runway airport in the world. Wow. So we already manage what we have very efficiently, but we're working on improvements to make sure that our future growth is able to be managed just as efficiently as we have today, including a cross-field taxiway. And then the other really exciting thing that I love talking about is the fact that Phoenix is really, we call it the city of the future, because we're on the forefront of technology. So for example, Waymo Phoenix was the first airport in the world to have an autonomous car pick up passengers from an airport, a driverless car. And so Waymo was the company that did that. They've expanded their Phoenix presence. And when you drive around Phoenix, you see driverless cars everywhere.
I've heard about this. Someone told me about this at a different conference, and it's one of those things you have to see it to believe it. Have you been in one of these driverless cars yourself?
Yes, I have, absolutely. And it's funny too, because when they were first testing them, sometimes they had drivers to test it. So my kids and I had a game that we'd pull up next to them and try and guess if there was a driver or not a driver. And now the game is done because it's all driverless.
Yeah. Wow, that's so exciting. I'd love to see that. So what new route are you most excited about that you've worked on?
I would say our overall Mexico capacity, because we've seen a lot of growth in Mexico despite the category restrictions with the FAA, and now that that's been lifted, I can see even more growth as well. But Phoenix is really the perfect gateway for the U.S. to Mexico, as well as Central and South American markets. And so that growth overall has been fantastic. We've also experienced a lot of great growth in Canada. And so Canadian investment and visitorship is our number one. And it's been wonderful to see that growth as well.
Fantastic. And in terms of the Mexican routes that you mentioned, was there any reason in particular that really made you think that you have to start up and serve those passengers who want to travel between those two places?
Yeah, a couple different reasons. So Monterrey was actually unserved from Phoenix. It's the third largest city in Mexico, so it's a big business hub. But in addition to that, because we have so much semiconductor investment coming online, as well as battery and electric vehicle, we are seeing a lot of onshoring and collaboration between Mexico and the U.S. And so it's really important that we have that air service to serve those businesses that are expanding in both regions in order to feed that supply chain.
And talk to me a little bit more about that semiconductor growth that you've been seeing, because it sounded really interesting prior to when we started this interview.
Yes. The chips that you use in your phones, your computers, your cars, 90% of those are made in Taiwan. And so we have had a long-standing semiconductor history in Phoenix. We've had started with Motorola in 1949. We've had Intel for quite a while, and Intel is actually investing $20 billion to grow their Phoenix presence, and that'll come online next year. In addition, Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Corporation is building 2 fabs in Phoenix. It's a $40 billion investment, largest foreign direct investment ever, and that's coming online in 2025. So that's just between 2 companies. So the suppliers and everyone else that needs to support that type of investment, $60 billion total, are also growing their Phoenix presence. So Phoenix is really becoming such an international city and a magnet for business.
Wow, that sounds really exciting. So thank you so much for sharing that. And then in terms of your cargo routes, how's that been going? What's the story there?
Well, Phoenix has always been really good about managing cargo, and we continue to see that cargo growth as well with our population growth. And I think that we'll continue to see that not only with semiconductor manufacturing coming online, but we're also growing in our other business sectors. Years ago during the financial recession, our main sector was housing construction. So of course we did bode well during that. Now it's so diversified that the growth that we're seeing is sustainable. So for example, LG, a Korean company, is going to be building a $5 billion battery manufacturing plant in our region. We're seeing over $3 billion in bioscience and healthcare come online. And we're also the largest luxury hotel pipeline, construction pipeline in the US. So we have a lot of retail and services that are being built to feed all of that. So that's something that we're working to, because cargo's going to come right along with that.
Lexie, that was my final question. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for interviewing me here. I appreciate it.